Hey guys, this is the WalterFootball.com After Dark Show for November 9th, 2023. We're going to be doing our Week 10 DraftKings picks for this 2023 NFL season. Joined once again by Kenny Ortiz, the owner of the capisfake.com. Kenny, how are you, and how's your Week 9?
Oh man, my week 9 was actually very good. Not phenomenal, but I had a lot of lineups that cashed, won some packs and rainmakers, some of the contests I'm in a survivor pool. I've almost never make it this late, so I'm in a survivor pool that I'm still in. It started off with like 13,000 people, and it's down to like 65. So.
Nice.
So I feel like I had a really good week 9, not a phenomenal, but generally good week. And except I did lose in our main league. I did lose in that league because my team sucks. So,
well, you beat me last week. That's what matters most. I absolutely destroyed Jacob. Felt so bad for it. The score was like I had the highest score of the league because I had CJ Stroud and Tank Dell. So I had the great combo, and I have to thank you for CJ Stroud because you had to drop him to make a roster spot, and I swooped in and just grabbed him. I didn't have a quarterback because I had Anthony Richardson and Daniel Jones both get injured. So I'm feeling like pretty confident about my team going forward now, except for RB2. I like no RB2. Anyway, like my DFS was pretty good last week. I played 2 lineups. I cashed both of them. And although like on one hand it was good, and like the other hand, I was already playing one lineup with I had like Dak Prescott with CD Lamb. My like inner pieces were like I had Noah Brown, I had Amari Cooper, I had Jonathan Taylor. I had the nuts except for quarterback. And then I decided to make a second lineup, and I was like waffling on the quarterback. Like I was going to choose like which stack I was going to play. Against that horrible Redskins defense and CJ Stroud. And I chose Mac Jones. And I blamed the 9:30 a.m. start time because I was kind of delirious and I made the wrong choice. Because like, dude, my CJ Stroud stack would have been with Tank Dell and Noah Brown. Those are the 2 guys I liked on Houston. Like I would have had, and then I would have ran it back with Rashad White. Like I would have had like such a great lineup. And unfortunately, it didn't pan out. But you know, I guess you can learn from your mistakes and try to build a better lineup. And that's what we'll try to do in the show.
you might have cashed so well that we might not be having this conversation. You'd be on vacation in Aruba or something.
Yeah, seriously. I definitely would have done a lot better than I did. I mean, I'm not going to complain. Like I said, I cashed both lineups, like did pretty well, but man, just I guess what could have been, right? Anyway, you are the owner of capisfake.com. Real quick, want to get into that before we get into the show?
I don't have anything new. I don't have anything new posted. I'm actually doing research right now on the projection of salary caps of the 4 major sports. And it's really been remarkable. The NFL players and NHL players have done really well over the last couple of years, while baseball players' salaries have actually plateaued on a per capita basis. So it's interesting. The league that does not have a salary cap, the players' salaries have actually been capped over the last decade. So doing a little bit of research. Hopefully in the next week or 2, I will have that available.
Nice. All right. We'll get into the slate, and then we'll open up some Rainmakers packs as we usually do.
Let's do
before
it.
before we do,
I'm ready for the packs, man.
I have one pack. Hopefully it's not Marvin Mims again. Please hit like, subscribe, comment below, share this video, visit the link in the description for the merch store. All that would mean a lot to us. We're approaching 4,000 subs. So if you want to really help us out, just hit subscribe. Really appreciate it. All right, let's get into the week 10 slate here. It's 10 games just like last week. So we start at the top with quarterback, and you have Lamar Jackson, Justin Herbert as the 2 most expensive guys. And I do want to ask you who the most projected, highly owned projected quarterbacks are going to be on the slate. Just kind of loading up that right now. Unfortunately, once again, Stochastic is not updated yet, so I'm just gonna look elsewhere. But do you want to? While I find out, do you want to take a guess of like who the highest owned quarterbacks are for this?
Yeah, every week I think to myself, I'm gonna think about this before we get live, and then every week I forget. But so I'm looking at it right now. I'm gonna guesstimate highest owned quarterback this week. I would imagine. Dak's coming off a big week on national TV and going against the Giants. Dak's price point on the Superflex slate is what is his price point on the Superflex slate?
8,000.
8,000. What is he, the fifth? I can imagine Dak being a really highly owned guy.
So I usually use Stochastic, but they didn't update. They'll probably update tomorrow. According to RotoWire, which I found, I've heard of them before, so I think they're reputable. Dak Prescott's projected to be the third highest owned quarterback.
All right. Yeah. I would imagine, I'm trying to think the other positions, the other guys that are, bad. I mean, I would imagine Jared Goff would probably, which I hope that's not the case because I really like Jared Goff this week. So I hope he's not. I would imagine he can get a lot of play this week. And my other guess would probably be Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow probably, he has looked great. And, he probably is the best quarterback on the slate in some ways and against the Houston defense. So those would have been my three guesses. My guess would have been Dak, Goff, and Burrow.
So Goff is projected to be the seventh highest owned quarterback. Joe Burrow, though, number one. So you got that correct. I built one lineup already, and Joe Burrow is the quarterback of that lineup. So unfortunately, you don't want to be with the chalkiest quarterback, but if you are, you have to be different otherwise. And I think my lineup is definitely different. The number two projected quarterback for ownership is Baker Mayfield, by the way.
Baker Mayfield against they're playing the Titans. Is that correct?
Yep.
He's
very cheap at 5,400.
Yeah, I could see that. I think I have him on my bench in our fantasy league actually as my backup or as one of my streaming quarterbacks. Mm-hmm. By the way, quarterback position, I've started all kinds of bums all season long. Oh gosh, I started with the season with Aaron Rodgers and he went out, and so it's been rough. I think I could see Baker against Tennessee, although Tennessee has a decent defense. They've been inconsistent, but I could see him being a highly. I get why people would want to go to him. I probably don't want to rely a lot on Baker Mayfield, but
yeah, me neither. But he had a good performance last week, like 19 fantasy points, like for a 5,400 quarterback, like you'll take that. So who are you said you like Goff a lot. Who else do you like a quarterback? And
Goff's my number one.
Oh yeah, you want to get into Goff? Why do you like Goff too?
I just like the matchup and I like the price point. As I'm looking at, part of the problem when weeks like this is there's just minimal options, right? With the bye weeks and with the showdown slates, the evening, the main slate just feels like it has limited options that I love, and so sometimes you just kind of just feel boxed in. It's not even that I love Goff. It's just sort of like, man, like, do I really want to spend 9,200 on Jackson? Do I really want to spend 9,000 on a guy like Herbert? Like Stroud is great, but do I want to spend 8,500 on him at this point? Like, what made CJ Stroud so great for so many weeks was that he was such a great value. Mm-hmm. I'm going to have to spend up on quarterback. I don't want to spend it on Stroud. So that's why and I think most people will think what I'm thinking. Like, I don't want to spend up for these guys. That's why I think Burrow and Dak are the guys that I would imagine people spend up for because they don't feel absurd to spend up for compared to some of the other prices. There's a big difference between 8,000 and 9,200 on the Superflex slate. I don't know what Lamar Jackson is on the standard slate, but so when I'm going on the list, what's the first quarterback that I feel confident in to score the amount of points I need him to score to be competitive going against a bad defense that's not an absurd price. And really the first guy on the list that I come to that I feel good about is Goff. 7,600 on the Superflex slate against the Chargers defense that has just been terrible for most of the season. I like that. I like the potential stacks that I have with Goff, and I like the players I can run it back with. So I love doing correlation. So that's another thing I think about. I can think about Dak Prescott, but like, is there anyone on the Giants that I want to be relying on and running it back with a bunch? Probably not. I mean, I don't love sadness in my lineup, so I don't want any Giants in my lineup. Like they're terrible. So when I'm going on the list, like there's just a major question mark on every one of these guys. And Goff is the first guy I get to where I go, oh, there's actually no major question marks here. I'm good with Goff. And And then I go beyond him and I go, there's a lot more question marks there. So I'm probably going to end up with a lot of Goff. My initial run, I crunched 200 lineups this afternoon. Goff was in 33% of my lineups, which has made him my most owned quarterback. So I think I'm going to have a lot of him.
Yeah, I kind of like Goff this week, but I question the fact that you say you can't run it back with any Giants. So you could play Dak Prescott, and in a Superflex, you could plug in this Danny DeVito guy who's 4,700.
Oh gosh,
just kidding.
I'm
Don't
getting
do that.
nauseous thinking about it. I did go back and watch Danny DeVito play. Danny DeVito, whatever his name is, Tommy DeVito. I went back and watched on NFL Game Pass, the international version using VPN, of course, because the American version sucks. Anyway, that's just my shot at the NFL. Just knowing how to fix problems that don't exist.
Wait! I have to ask you. Because you keep saying this. I never asked. Like, what's the difference?
Oh, the UI is way better if you use the it's basically the old UI of the NFL, the way NFL Game Pass used to be. So if you use a VPN from Germany, you get the old UI. The new UI in Game Pass, you can't search players the way you used to. It's like all like it was an awesome service software, and then they made a bunch of changes to it and they took away a bunch of the features. Well, then if you log in using an international version, you actually have all the old good features. So I like the search function. I can search a player and I can search, every target of Devontae Smith, and it'll queue up every play that Devontae Smith was a target on in that play, and just play them back to back to back. Well, the American version doesn't do that anymore. Like it's one of the best features. I don't understand why they took it away.
They hate Americans. That's my only explanation.
I don't understand that.
I don't get it. Yeah, I don't know. Like, why would you keep the international version? That doesn't make any sense.
I don't know.
Anyway, like above Jared Goff, so you said he's the highest quarterback you have a lot of faith in. I like Stroud and Burrow quite a bit. It feels like a little like I would say like noobish to play CJ Stroud just because like he just went off, and of course like he's probably going to go back down to earth in this game. I wonder, like the Texans are probably going to be trailing by a lot in this game, and I think that there's a chance that he gets a lot of garbage time yardage. So I think that Stroud's definitely in play. But Burrow, as I said, I made one lineup, and Burrow's my starting quarterback. This guy's been on fire ever since he came back from the bye. He had 27 against San Francisco and 25 against Buffalo, and now he gets Houston, a defense that is like not very good at all. We just saw Baker Mayfield light up the Texans defense. So I feel like Joe Burrow could have a great game. And unfortunately he's the highest owned quarterback, but I think that's for a good reason. Like I think he's reasonably priced. Like he's below CJ Stroud, like which seems like a mistake. I know Stroud just went off, but like, yeah, Burrow is just an amazing quarterback and he's just on fire right now. So and I think there are multiple ways to stack him too, which I think is pretty appealing. Plus there's so many run back options on Houston too.
Yeah, I like Burrow. I mean, I mentioned him. I get why people go to him. My one, and he's playing fantastic, man. The last 2-3 weeks, he looks like the old Burrow again. Like that, maybe that calf is fully healed. The offensive line is playing better. They look like to be a force to be reckoned with over the next couple of weeks to come. So, I think Burrow is a great play in a lot of ways. My trepidation with Burrow that would lower him down. I mean, let me just check. See, Burrow is my. Make sure I got it. He's my third most owned quarterback right now. I got him in 17% of my lineups. My first out of 200 lineups, I have him in 34 lineups. So I got quite a bit of him. He is just a little expensive on the stack. I really want to stack him with Chase. That feels a little expensive to me. But the run back with Houston is not super expensive. Those receivers are mostly not going to be terrible. So that's good. I like that. Just the other thing is most weeks I've been paying up quarterback receiver quite a bit. And in the Superflex lineups, I've been paying up often for 2 stacks and then going super dirt cheap with just like crappy cheap guys, in other spots and really getting mediocre running backs. This particular week, there were some really good running backs that I like that I'm willing to pay up for, which means I'm going to have to not spend as much on quarterback. So I think this week I like the idea of spending a little less at quarterback because there's some running backs I want to really get to at the higher price points.
All right. Well, who are some of the cheap quarterbacks you like then?
So I mentioned Goff obviously being the main one. I kind of like Kenny Pickett a little bit this week against Green Bay. Sometimes I think to myself, I watch him play and think, do you really want to like invest anything on this kid? He looks like he belongs in a after school anti-drug commercial. Hey kids, I don't know, but I just and he's mediocre as a player, but he looked decent last week, so I like him. What's his price on the Superflex? He's
5,000.
Oh, yeah, you have it up on the screen there, 5,000. Yeah. So I like him there in that range. I also like, speaking of hating your money and throwing it away. How about Kyler Murray coming back this week? What's Kyler Murray on the Superflex slate is
6,600.
Yeah, that's a little too much. He's only 5,900 on the standard slate, and so he fits a little better in the standard slate. A little more value there. I think on the Superflex slate, probably not enough value there for me to get to him quite a bit. But and then Geno Smith is another one I like against Washington. You've talked about the Washington defense being terrible. They've been very inconsistent. They just gave away their two of their best defensive players, and I think people will be down on. I think people will think, oh, the Redskins are maybe not as bad as people think because Mac Jones didn't blow them up as we expected. But I think that speaks more to Mac Jones, and I like Geno Smith against them. So, we have several quarterbacks that are kind of in this, 5,500 to 6,000 and change range that I like rather than spending up big.
I kind of like Geno Smith a little bit. There are three other quarterbacks I like more that are cheaper. So you talked about Kyler Murray, but what about the other quarterback in that game? You have Taylor Heineke, who's 5,500. He had 15 fantasy points against the Vikings. The Vikings have a good defense, though. Arizona has a truly awful defense. I feel like Heineke could throw all over them. I think it's a good matchup for him. And I like I think there's a good opportunity to stack him with one of the running backs because Arizona is really bad against the run. So you could stack him with like Bijan Robinson and Drake London, and both those guys have great matchups, and it's like not a very expensive stack at all.
Right.
So I like that quite a bit. Two other guys.
I like running those guys back, by the way. I like Kyler Murray in a stack with him and having Heineke in the Superflex. Those are two inexpensive stacks that you can now bolster your roster elsewhere. So
yeah,
I like that move.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, let's build that lineup at the end. I like that idea. Brock Purdy's the second guy. So he's getting back Deebo Samuel and Trent Williams presumably this week. And we've seen him post some big stat lines this year. He had 23 against the Giants, 21 against Arizona, 26 against Dallas, 24 against Cincinnati. This guy has all the weapons in the world. He's great coaching. And he's playing against the Jacksonville defense that's pretty pass funnel. Jacksonville is very strong against the run, but they've allowed some big performances to quarterbacks this year. Derek Carr on a Thursday night, for example. So I like Purdy at 6,100. I think he's a pretty good value. And the last guy I want to get to is Will Levis at 5,700. Look, we just saw CJ Stroud light up this Tampa defense, and it's not a fluke that CJ Stroud had a great performance. I'm not expecting 50 from Will Levis, though. I think he can get into the 20s against this Tampa defense that's so bad against the pass. Very pass funnel. They're pretty good against the run. They really struggle to cover. They're dead last in the NFL in pass defense. And Will Levis has, DeAndre Hopkins. Kyle Phillips is someone we're going to talk about a little bit later. I like him as a cheap option. So I think Will Levis he's shown in his debut, he had 26 against Atlanta. And this is an even easier matchup. So there's a good chance he's also playing from behind too, and he might get some garbage time points. So what do you think about Will Levis and Brock Purdy?
Brock Purdy, I might like a little, but there's just other guys I think I would prefer that are in the same price range. And I feel with Levis, by the way, Levis actually played he's clearly the best quarterback on that roster. They would be foolish to go back to Tannehill at this point. So yeah, I think Levis probably makes some sense. I think I like your Heineke call a little more. I like this. I like the spot for him better there, and he's a little cheaper. So I get why, and I like Pickett probably a little more in his spot. He's 5,000, so I think you're right. I think Levis is good. I think maybe I just like some other guys in that price range a little more.
Okay. Anyone else a quarterback?
No, those are the main guys. What I don't know what to do with Sammy Howell, by the way. You didn't mention him. I don't have him in a lot of lineups, but what do you think he might do against Seattle? And I'm particularly thinking about running it back with him and Geno.
I don't like Sam Howell this week. He really struggles against zone defense. Seattle plays a lot of zone. So I think this is a bad matchup for him. And plus, like, Seattle's defense is pretty good. I expect a big performance from Seattle this week. Like, they just got embarrassed by Baltimore. And one of my favorite angles for betting is, and I mentioned this on the Tuesday show, Jacob, that like good teams coming up blowout losses, I think they bounce back very well. So I think Seattle's just gonna like crap all over Washington this week. I think it's gonna be a blowout. Which, by the way, which could mean good things for Sam Howell in garbage time.
Right.
By the way,
Maybe. Yeah. It's a good point.
Yeah. All right. So let's go to receiver because they correlate with the quarterbacks the best. We have Justin Jefferson at the top of the 800, but he's on IR, and Keenan Allen is the healthiest quarterback at 8,700. But I'm going to ask you again: who do you think is the three highest owned receivers?
Well, now that I know who the quarterbacks were, so that's probably gonna shade inform my thoughts a bit. But I would have said I'm on Ron St. Brown as my guesstimate because of the matchup against the Chargers. He would have been my first guess.
You were so close. He's number 4.
Okay. My next guess would probably be, let me see if Baker Mayfield's going to be owned a lot, I would imagine Evans or Godwin at the price points there. Evans or Godwin could be highly owned. And
you would think so, but they're not in the top 10.
Neither one of them are in the top 10.
No.
That's very surprising.
In fact, Evans is not even in the top 20, which is shocking to me. I thought he'd be higher in than that. And Godwin's probably less so.
Well, okay, that's very surprising.
Yeah, not in the top 20.
Oh, that's very strange. And then of the guys that are left, I would imagine it's Chase and Lamb. CeeDee Lamb is on a tear right now. I would imagine people are going to be all over him.
Chase is number 1. CeeDee Lamb's number 3. Number 2 is Marquise Brown.
Okay, yeah, I guess that makes sense based on where the game potentially, garbage time. They're getting smoked. Yeah, I can imagine. I didn't think of him. He wasn't on my radar, but I can imagine why people go to him.
Okay. All right. So at the top receivers, you mentioned Lamb, you mentioned St. Brown, Chase. Who are you getting to most of the highest price receivers?
I'm going to get a lot of CD and St. Brown. I want to be on these two guys. I know it's going to be chalky. A lot of people, you said Lamb is the second projected ownership, and St. Brown's the 4th. You said
Lamb is 3rd. Lamb is 3rd. St. Brown's 4th.
Yeah, I know that's chalky, but I think in this case it's good chalk. CeeDee Lamb is playing out of his mind right now, and I want a piece of that. I want a piece of that action. I don't know that I will stack him with Dak a bunch. I'll just play him on his own probably in a lot of cases, and I probably won't have a lot of correlation because I don't know that I want to have any Giants on my team. But I love him. St. Brown, I'm probably going to get to even more than CeeDee Lamb because I love the matchup. I love the situation. I'm going to have a lot of Jared Goff, stack with a lot of St. Brown, and run it back with Chargers receivers. So I'm probably going to have a chunk of Keenan Allen as well. I just think it's a great matchup. I expect that to be a high scoring game.
I like St. Brown. My worry with Lamb, and he's been out of his mind, and he made both of my lineups last week. He was my number 1 play of the week. My worry about him this week is that, Dallas could get a defensive touchdown easily against Tommy DeVito, right? Maybe even 2. And then what if they go up big and they don't have to throw it all in the second half? Like, I could see Lamb getting 3 catches for 57 yards and a touchdown just because Dak throws 3 times in the second half. That is my only worry with him. Just the very high percentage that's a blowout. Like, Dallas is favored by 16 in this game. I don't think it's gonna be competitive at all. We saw it with the first Giants game. Like Dak barely threw, and Lamb, as a result, caught 4 passes for 77 yards. That is, like I said, that's my worry with Lamb. That's why I'm not getting to him. Yeah,
that's a fair concern. To think about, they just may just be up so big so quick in other facets and other ways that we never even get to see any real, value from these guys. That makes sense.
It's kind of like NBA DFS. I don't know if you play that, but like if you have like Joel Embiid, for example, and the Sixers are favored by like 12, and you probably know he's not going to play the fourth quarter. Like, do you really want to play him? That's the type of example I would give. Of the top guys for me, like if Jamar Chase is healthy, I definitely want to get him in my lineup. Like, I mean, he's coming off a down game, 4 catches for 41 yards. And I love playing like these great players coming off down games. And as I said, I have Joe Burrow as my quarterback. I stacked them with Chase and then one other guy I'll get to later. So Chase is the obvious one, but the guy I stacked them with, the second guy I stacked them with is not going to be in those lineups as often. So you didn't mention Chase. Any thoughts with him, or are you concerned with the back injury?
No, I he's a guy that him and Lamb. I'd want definitely some Chase. My only problem is that him and Burrow are expensive as a stack, and so every time I've been kind of fooling around, messing around with lineups this afternoon and different configurations, it just felt like I don't love most of the configurations I come up with when I've got that stack. But definitely, I mean, yes, in my early crunch. I've got Burrow I mentioned in 17% of my lineups, and half of those are stacked with Jamar Chase. So I've got Chase in about 9% of my lineups currently, which is a fair amount, which makes him my 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, my 13th most owned receiver. I guess that's not very high, but.
Well, I mean, you have a lot of Lamb and St. Brown, so you can only have so many of these highly priced receivers. All right, so now that we talked about the guys who are above 8K, what about like the 7 to 6K range, like the mid tier? Who do you like in that group?
I think probably in this secondary group right here, my favorite is I think I like DK Metcalf. Just the Redskins, Commanders, Red Tails, whatever they're called these days. I'm convinced they're going to change their name at some point again. There's no way they're going to stay the Commanders, right? Anyway.
By the way, I've talked about this with Jacob, and he loved this idea. How are they not called the Hogs? Because, like, first of all, you have the Hogs, the offensive line group that was so great, like a few decades ago. So it pays homage to them, and it's so easy to go from Redskins to Hogs. You go Redskins to Pigskins to Pigs to Hogs, right? It's so easy, and it's a unique name. Like that is so much better than Commanders. Do you agree?
Commanders is stupid. Yes, the Hogs is definitely better.
Okay.
But there's a lot of things that'd be better than I think Commanders. I mean, it was, in my opinion, was the worst name in sports until the Cleveland Indians became the Cleveland Guardians, which I think is even worse than the Commanders.
And that is like the Cleveland Spiders was such a cool name, and they had such a great logo with the spider that was shaped like a C. I was like, that man, how do you not go to Spiders? Maybe it's like you don't want to scare kids or something, but like, I don't know. Like I thought that would be really cool.
Yeah. So anyway, DK Metcalf, I think is going to just tear this team up. I can imagine him just having a field day. And we mentioned Geno Smith as someone I like in the mid-price range, so I like that stack a lot. And I feel like I've got good options on the run back. And so I like the idea of being a running back. I know Terry McLaurin is going to be an obvious option, but Curtis Samuel making his return back after injury, I could imagine him being relatively low owned. And so I really like the idea of running back. So having Metcalf and then running him back with a cheap guy like Samuel in that range. The other guys in the range that I like a lot here, the guys that I've been on quite a bit. You've been on Olave, so I can't. I'm not alone on that. I like Chris Olave this week. And my boy, Christian Kirk, he's my boy. I claim him. I've been all over him, and, I've kind of was a early adopter on him. He's coming off of a down week with just 4 catches. But I like the matchup. And Calvin Ridley after week 1, he was awesome in week 1 and has been very inconsistent in the Jaguars offense this season. And so I wonder, okay, if he's coming off of a great game, he's not had, he's not strung together long stretches where he's played great. He's been very up and down, inconsistent. So, okay, he's coming off a great game. I wonder if now I'm just going to bank on him not being great the next week.
Actually, I like Ridley better than Kirk this week, especially if Zay Jones comes back from injury, because we've seen Zay Jones take the outside receiver reps from Christian Kirk in the past. I don't know if that's still going to be the case. Maybe they changed their mind, but in week 1 and the preseason, Zay Jones was playing ahead of Kirk in those 2 receiver formations. And also Ridley, I think, projects better in this game because the Niners are weaker to outside cornerbacks and outside receivers and slot receivers. And so I just think Ridley has the better matchup. Like we saw Jordan Addison like torch the Niners a couple weeks ago on Monday Night Football. And I think this is like a similar matchup, and Ridley is super talented. I think that I think he could have a big game here. So I'm a big fan of Ridley, but you said Metcalf is the first guy you mentioned, and he made my lineup. The one lineup with Joe Burrow, like I think he's so cheap, like 6,700 here. This guy, I think, could nuke the slate. Like we've seen that type of upside with him, and Washington has allowed the most receptions of 50 yards or more this season. They allowed like Marvin Mims to torch them. I think Metcalf could go off. I think either one of Metcalf or Lockett will go off. Maybe even both. But I think Metcalf is the favorite to do that. And you mentioned Samuel, like not that he's in the mid tier, but if you're going to play Metcalf, Samuel correlates with him in a mini stack, unless you're stacking one of the quarterbacks. So Samuel is also in that lineup I mentioned with Joe Burrow. So I'm a big fan of Samuel this week. Seattle is really bad against slot receivers, and Samuel could go off. I like him better than McLaurin. Elsewhere in this range, I like Mike Evans. You touched on him earlier. Tennessee has been pretty bad in the secondary, so I like his matchup as well. A couple of other guys, Brandon
By the way, I'm
Ayuk.
shocked. I'm absolutely shocked that Evans is not projected to be at least top 12, top 10 type owned this week. That's really surprising to me. I think that's gonna influence me to probably go get more Mike Evans because I like him. I agree with you.
Yeah, I'm shocked by that too. I just think it's a great matchup, and he's not expensive at all. It's a great price. So he's like, I'm going to have like 2 or 3 lineups. Like he's going to be in one of them for sure. Probably run back with the Will Levis lineup. Brandon Ayuk against Jacksonville. I talked about how they have a pass funnel defense. So if you're playing Brock Purdy, I think Brandon Ayuk is like the most obvious receiver you can get to with him. And T Higgins, if Jamar Chase has this back injury, and you don't think he's going to do well, Higgins could step up. He just had 8 catches for 110 yards. He had some dud performances in the middle of the season so far, but he was injured, and he came back last week. It was the first time he was healthy. He went 5 for 69, which is okay. But then he kind of like nuked the Sunday night slate for 8 for 110. He didn't even score a touchdown, and now if Chase is injured, like he projects really well, 6,400 for sure.
T Higgins has seemingly been very unmotivated for most of this year. You watch him play; he's clearly not mentally in the games.
See, I real quick, I just think he was injured, and I don't think like he was going full out just because like he was playing hurt, and he was just kind of like it like really was like kind of painful for him to play. So that's why it may have seemed that way.
Yeah. If you're right, I get you might be right. That might be the reason if that's the case. Whenever I see that, I get a little nervous putting a lot of stock in these guys. But I mean, where do I have? I got Higgins. I mean, well, now I'm talking I'm talking nonsense here because I'm looking at the amount of I mentioned I got Burrow in 34 lineups, and I got Higgins in 17 of them with him. So that's that's what is that? 9% of my lineups. So it's quite a bit. He's my 1, 2, 3, 4. So he's like my 12th or 13th owned receiver. I have him and Chase in the same amount of lineups. So I was just getting ready to dog him before I do that. I actually have invested in him quite a bit this week.
That's funny.
he's kind of been, he's clearly just not going all out, and that's made me concerned about him. But if it's just the injury and he's feeling good, and also just the team in general was kind of down, and there's been a clear shift in the Bengals the last 2 weeks. Maybe it's just Burrow's injury is cleared up now and he's feeling better and he's playing better. Or maybe they made some changes. Their offensive line is playing a little bit better. And so, I think generally I'm kind of up on the Bengals right now. So I think it's wise to invest in that offense. I would imagine in the next 2-3 weeks, we're going to see the Bengals offensive players become much more expensive in DFS as they play better.
Yeah, I think the Bengals are a prime candidate to just make a huge run. 2 weeks ago on this channel, I recommended Joe Burrow is 40-1 to win MVP. There's no clear cut winner right now. I think Jalen Hurts is probably the front runner, but it's still early. And if the Bengals make a run, I think Joe Burrow is going to be in the running. Like that's gone. I think he's down to 17-1 now. So I thought 40-1 is a great price. Well, we had a question here. Well, how are the projections on your site calculated? Are they reliable enough to use with DFS Sim? Or just a quick pulse check when you write your content. They're made for DFS projections. So what I do is in Fantasy Crunch, back when I played a ton of lineups, I would plug them into Fantasy Cruncher and just do that. I would just make my lineups that way. Now I only play 1 or 2, 1 or maybe 3 max. So I don't use the sim. I like to make my own lineups that way, but they're based on how I think they're going to do in DFS. So especially DraftKings, the PPR version. So that's what those point totals are. So yeah, you can use it for DFS for sure. All right. Anyone else in the mid tier? Do you want to go down to the cheap guys?
Yeah, I think that's everyone in the mid tier. Deontay Johnson, I might get to a little bit because I'm using Pickett in some sense. So he's kind of in that mid tier, 5,400 or 5,500. What's he in the Superflex? 5,500? 5,400. My eyes are going bad. It's the screen is very small, so I need to make that bigger.
My screen.
Yeah, I have a dual screen action here, so I have the DFS up, and I'm just not struggling. I'm struggling to see the numbers because I'm getting
probably zoom in. There we go. What do you think?
Well, it's because I drink this very nutritious drink. Those you can see called Coke Zero. It's nice. I'm sure this is helping my eyesight. I'm confident.
It's doing a lot more damage than that. Anyway, real quick, Drake London is someone else I like this week. He was out of the lineup last week with injury. As I said before, Arizona's defense is awful. Amari Cooper just torched the Cardinals. Not that Drake London is Amari Cooper, but he's pretty talented. And if you like Taylor Heineke, then you can get to Drake London pretty easily. So I like him quite a bit this week.
Yeah.
Okay. What about some cheap guys? There are, I don't know if their prices here. I haven't checked their prices here, but I like 2 guys in the main slate that are 3,000. And I like another guy who's 3,200. So I'm excited to hear if you're into any of those guys. We already talked about Curtis Samuel. Any other cheap guys you like?
Yeah, Curtis Samuel is probably my favorite cheap guy right now. Yeah, I got a couple other bargain guys. I've not gone super cheap, but a couple guys that I like that are cheap. How about let's run it back with Noah Brown, right? Noah Brown just came off this great performance. He'll probably have 2 catches for 20 yards and disappoint all of us.
Yep.
But why not? Why not for the 3,700? What the heck? How about Brandon Powell from Minnesota?
That's the 3,200 guy I like. So
he's 3,200.
He's 3,200 here too.
I just like the situation. I don't think he's a good player. I don't think he has a track record that we should trust. I don't think you really should believe in him, but I like the situation enough to get him a little bit. And so there. How about another cheapo guy? How about Kyle Phillips for Tennessee at Tampa Bay?
That's one of the 3K guys I like.
Oh, nice. We're on a roll here, bro. This guy is not a good football player. He barely ever played before 2 weeks ago. But Will Levis and him seem to have some rapport, and he got 5 targets, and I think 2 of them were in the red zone. So you know what? I'll run it back with Mr. Kyle Phillips for $3,000. Why not? I don't usually spend a lot of money on white receivers not named Cooper Kupp, but whatever. Let's go with it.
Nice. So with Phillips, he was coming off injury, and he's been getting more run every single week, as you can see. 1 target, 2, 3, 5. So if this holds up, that's 8 targets, by the way, if you want to just look at the math pattern there. So real quick, like this is the same matchup that Noah Brown took advantage of last week. Tampa Bay is so bad against slot receivers. Like they've been torched by them all year. And Kyle Phillips is getting more, like I said, he's getting more targets as each week is going by. He and Will Levis have a good rapport because they practice together as backups. And Treylon Burks is hurt. Remember, he got hurt. So now Kyle Phillips is going to have more of an opportunity. So I think he's a great bargain at 3K. I picked up his Rainmaker card, in fact.
Nice.
So I'm going to have him in a Rainmaker pack party contest this week. So looking forward to that as well. So you mentioned Kyle Phillips and also Brandon Powell. The Saints have also been bad against slot receivers, and Brandon Powell plays in the slot. KJ Osborne's injured, same situation as Kyle Phillips. Like he's going to get more targets because the guy's injured, and Josh Dobbs. He targeted him in the end zone for the touchdown. I think that outside of Jordan Addison, like and TJ Hawkinson, like where else is Josh Dobbs going to go with Osborne hurt? I think Powell is a good candidate to have a good game at 3,200. The other 3K guy is Rondale Moore.
Let's go, Rondale Moore. Let's go. Yes.
So this just look at last year's stats with Kyler Murray. Like this guy had like 10 targets like every single game. And this year, just like nothing. He had a couple of decent games like the 16.2 against Dallas. He had a 10.6 against Cincinnati, but like really nothing. But they had Josh Dobbs. It was okay. But then they had Clayton Tune last week. He had one catch. Just like Rondale Moore just hasn't had a good opportunity to go off. And here he has a good matchup against Atlanta. Again, Atlanta, all these NFC South teams suck against slot receivers. Rondale Moore has a great matchup, great opportunity with Kyler Murray back. He's 3K. So give me Rondale Moore, give me Kyle Phillips, give me Brandon Powell. I love all three guys this week.
I do have Rondale Moore in 2% of my lineups. 2%. So that is a grand total of 4 of my 200 initial lineups. 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's it. How many times? Like in Hoosier, how many times are you going to pass the ball? 4. But he is the last receiver I have other than before I get to, there's a bunch of lineups that you always have just guys in just one. So he's my last receiver that I have in multiple lineups. So yeah, I don't have a ton of them. I got excited. I don't know why I got excited. I get excited randomly, random things.
I also bought a Rondale Moore. It's a legendary one that I bought. Dirty Mart at DFS says Heineke's puke stack with London and Pitts could be the million winner this week. I could see Heineke winning with London. Instead of Pitts, I would run it back with. I would also have Bijan Robinson in that lineup. And I'll get to why in a second. But before I do, any other receivers you want to mention?
No, I think you got all the. I tell you, there's one guy that I want no part of that I'm just so annoyed with, and that's Christian Watson. I went back this week. Went back in the NFL Game Pass again, international version, and I just typed in. I went back and watched all of his targets for this year. You can take you all of 8 minutes. Not even that. Maybe it was actually like 6 minutes, I think, to watch every play that he's been targeted on this year. And at once upon a time, I thought this guy knew how to play football. Once upon a time, I thought he was good. I no longer believe that.
He played with Aaron Rodgers last year. That might be why.
Yeah. He's not good at football. And so, it's pretty rare that I feel like guys just are this bad after having really shown some flashes not long ago. So I don't know what the situation is there. I don't know if he just forgot how to run routes, forgot how to catch the ball. If Jordan Love's just not looking his way, I don't know the situation, but he's not good at football, and it's like painful.
Yeah, he's super athletic, very fast. He has a lot of upside, and we saw it last year with Aaron Rodgers. But now that Jordan Love is there, Love is not good enough to take it to elevate Watson, and that's the problem. Even like Rodgers was injured last year, and yet he got the most out of Watson, and Love just can't do that. And I would say this about Watson: he has a great matchup this week, but I just can't get him into my lineup. Not at 4,900. If he were If he were 3,900, I'd maybe consider it, but like that, he'd have to be $1,000 less for me to touch him. I'd rather play Romeo Dubs. He at least is like, he's the opposite of Christian Watson. Like, he's not athletic at all, but he's actually like decent at football. So it's a tough scene for the Packer receiving core. The Steelers have allowed a lot of yardage to outside receivers. That's why I mentioned Dobbs and Watson. But I think they're both a little too expensive for my taste.
Yeah, Dubs at 5,300, I think is too expensive. He's good. He's been good in the red zone. He's got kind of quick moves, so he knows how to kind of shed the quick blockers. So he has scored two red zone touchdowns over the last 3 weeks. Dubs has, because of his kind of quickness. But do I trust that offense to be good enough to get into the red zone regularly? The answer is absolutely not.
Yeah. One other guy, or two guys I want to get to before I move on. Zay Jones at 4K. I mentioned him. He's been injured. He's been out since week 5. If he comes back, I think he's going to be playing as a starter in the 2 receiver sets. And I mentioned how the Niners are weaker to outside receivers. So he's only 4K. I think it's a good price. And Rashid Shaheed at 4,300. He can nuke a slate. Like, he had 27 here. He had 18. He had 20. This guy has high upside. He also has a super low floor. But Minnesota is another one of these teams that sucks against slot receivers, and he plays in the slot. So I think he has a chance to really go off here. So if you're playing in, one of those GPPs with 150 lineups, I think you should get Shaheed in some of them.
Yeah, I got Shaheed actually in. I have him in 13 lineups. So out of 200, not a huge number. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to have any Zay Jones. I'm not convinced that he's going to be playing over Christian Kirk. Christian Kirk has played really well. I'd be surprised if Doug Peterson, who I mostly trust, not 100%, but I mostly trust. I can't imagine he's going to take Kirk. Kirk has played really well this year.
Well, of all the coaches, Peterson is highly trustworthy. There have been some bad ones. I know that you wanted to rant about some coaches too. So I don't know if you want to do that now or if you wanted to save it to the end.
There are 2 coaches I want to rant on when we get to running backs.
Okay. All right. Well, let's get there. Who do you think are the 3 highest owned running backs this week?
3 highest owned running backs. Okay, let me look at the prices here. We got here. Okay, I'm looking at the Superflex slate, not the standard slate. So I would imagine I could see Tony Pollard being owned a lot because of they're playing the Giants, and maybe Pollard. People are expecting him to finally break out. Maybe I could see that.
He's number 9.
Oh, that feels very low.
He's been such a disappointment as someone who owns a lot of Rainmaker cards of his. He just hasn't been producing at all.
I think he hasn't scored a touchdown in week 1, I believe. Is that correct?
Yep. But this is the Giants again, though.
Yeah. So maybe now this week I think there could be a lot of chalk with the most expensive guy on the slate. I think McCaffrey could end up being significantly owned, and I'm probably going to own a lot of them too. Actually.
Yeah, he's number 3.
Yeah, that's not a surprise to me. And then my other guess might be, it wouldn't surprise me if Travis Etienne, who I also like quite a bit this week, gets owned a lot.
Yeah, he's number 8.
Etienne on the list?
He's number 8.
Number 8. Okay, well, I'm not sure who the top 3 then is.
So I'm kind of surprised by number 1. Number 1 is Bijan Robinson, and then number 2. Yeah, it was shocking. And then number 2 is Austin Eckler.
Okay, Eckler. Yeah, I can see Eckler. High scoring game. I get that. The Lions are good against the run, but maybe maybe there's a red zone opportunity there. Bijan Robinson is one of my rants. Arthur Smith. Arthur Smith. I know that the percentage chance that Arthur Smith is ever going to see this is pretty much 0. I recognize that.
Well, before you go on, we are banned from the NFL Combine because Roger Goodell found out that I called him a douche. So let's don't say that. This might get to Arthur Smith.
Okay, Arthur Smith. Can we stop with the Tyler Algiers experiment? Okay, you have Bijan Robinson. You have this unbelievable talent, generational talent. I don't understand it. I think Algier got 13 touches last week to Bijan's
So Bijan had 13. I don't know. I think Algier had 14. I want to make sure though.
Yeah, I think he had one or two more.
Yeah, he had it's 14 to 13 Algier. Yeah.
Okay. And in the red zone, they've got 1st and 10 like the 8-yard line. And Algier is his first look. They're in 3rd down situations. Algier is his first. What are you doing? He's lining up Robin, Bijan is like a decoy, and he's running these weird gadget plays. This guy is electric. What is he doing? If you're a coach, Walter, can you explain this to me? Like I'm 5. Like what is? I don't understand these coaches that have talented players that can do things, but they refuse to let those players do the things they're good at. I don't understand it. I don't understand it. Can you help me understand it?
Well, I asked Jacob this yesterday. I said, like, is there like any chance, like maybe 1% chance, that Arthur Smith doesn't know who Bijan Robinson is? Like he just didn't follow the draft and like didn't know that they spent a top 10 pick on him. And he's like looking at the depth chart. He's like, oh, I love Algier. And who's this Mustard Bijan guy? He's like, I hate mustard. I like ketchup. Like, I don't want to play this guy. Like, do you think there's a 1% chance that this happened?
I wouldn't surprise. Like it's you. If you're a Falcons fan watching this, I just want you to know I have sympathy for you. My heart breaks for you. I have compassion because it's so stupid. They're so stupid. Some of these coaches are so dumb. Seriously. I think we all assume, okay, like you don't get to be an NFL coach unless you're actually smart. Like we would assume that, like I think
there have been some
easiest,
bad ones.
I think that's like a general assumption. Like, okay, well, if you're gonna be a bad NFL coach compared to other coaches, but like compared to the average person, you're probably really good. No, these guys aren't good even compared to the average.
We had Rich Kotite coaching the Eagles. Do you remember the 2-point conversion fiasco that he had?
Yes.
My play sheet got wet. I couldn't tell if we had to go for 2 or not.
Who? I guess I don't understand. Are there that like few intelligent people on the planet that there's a lack of, like, is there just the pool of people from which NFL owners are hiring coaches? Like is Arthur Smith really one of the, like, there's only 32 of these jobs on the planet. Is Arthur Smith really worthy of one of the 32 jobs of the 7 billion people on planet Earth? I bet you could find a kid from India off the street, some slumdog millionaire kid who's never seen football, who might be able to coach the team as good as Arthur Smith. I don't understand this. I don't get it.
He can handle the calls that come in too. So I think that I'll say that Charlie Campbell said this once, and it kind of stuck with me. He said that like owners care more about their image more than winning. Like they want a guy who doesn't stir the pot, who's like very friendly with the media, like won't like embarrass the team, not with the on-field stuff that like mistakes. I mean, like saying stuff at press conferences, whatnot. Charlie said that the owners really care more about that stuff than anything else, not just from coaches, from quarterbacks too. That's why like both Tim Tebow out and Colin Kaepernick out. Like as soon as they started making waves, they're both gone. And that's like why owners, they're very conservative that way. They just don't want to be embarrassed. And Arthur Smith is like, yeah, has Arthur Smith ever said anything at press conferences where you're like, oh wow, that what an idiot? Like no, he's just dumb decision making on the football field, but like in the public, he's just a guy with a mustache. Like that's all he is. Like then that's all that owners really care about.
Yeah, it's just very odd. So anyway, I know that's not DFS related. I don't understand the NFL coaching decisions. It doesn't make sense to me. I don't understand how coaches make the decisions they make sometimes.
Yeah, who's the other coach you want to rant about, or are we going to get to that later too?
Oh, we'll get to him in just a moment.
Okay, all right. Well, I will say this about Bijan. I like him this week. I liked him before I found out the ownership. Unfortunately, I don't know why he's so high projected to be high owned. Like I have to think that's a mistake. Like he just hasn't done anything. He's 5,900 here though. And I said that I love him in a stack with Taylor Heineke because I love the quarterback, running back, receiver stack. I think that's so underplayed. our friend, as I said this like every week, our friend Mike C259, he should have won the Millie, and he got third place. Playing Carson Wentz with Miles Sanders and Alshon Jeffrey, and you see these stacks all the time. They're so high up, and no one plays them because, like, first of all, they do correlate. Like Bijan Robinson could easily catch a touchdown, and second, they correlate in the sense that if Heineke has a great game and he's throwing like 2 or 3 touchdowns, maybe twice to Drake London, and the Falcons have a big lead, like who's going to get the ball in the second half? It's going to be Bijan Robinson. So they correlate that way as well. And Bijan Robinson is a pass catcher. It's like 4 targets, 5 targets, was 0 because he was hurt or sick, and then 8. So he's definitely a big part of the passing game. So Arizona is so bad against the run. They can't stop the run at all. So I like the Heineke Robinson London stack this week.
Yeah, I like Robinson a little bit. The ownership would definitely scare me away. Yeah, I think this is bad chalk. At the end of the day, I think Bijan's a phenomenal talent. I just don't trust the game planning and the offense to get into the red zone as often as they need to be. And even if they are in the red zone, I don't trust they're going to give it to their best players. So, yeah, it's hard for me to really get here. Yeah, it's so frustrating. I love watching good players perform, and it's just frustrating when good players are stuck with bad coaches.
Yeah, it is pretty brutal. I agree that Robinson is bad chalk. But I think you can play him if you do it different, and I think that he's not going to be stacked a lot with Heineke and London. So I think if you play Robinson, it has to be in a stack that way, not as a one-off, because there are just better options this week. So who do you like at the top? You have McCaffrey, Eckler. You mentioned McCaffrey. I assume that you like him the most of all the high end guys. Yeah,
McCaffrey's the guy I'm gonna be glad to spend quite a bit on McCaffrey this week. Yeah, I really like the matchup here. I think statistically he doesn't look like a great matchup in some cases, but I like this. McCaffrey's just been awesome, and as you mentioned, they're getting ready to get one of their best offensive linemen, maybe their best offensive lineman back, Debo back to open things up. I could see McCaffrey he's going to easily score 1 touchdown, maybe more. I think he'd be great. I want to have McCaffrey. I'm glad to spend up on him.
I agree. I think he's the running back you want at the top. It doesn't seem he's even that expensive. 8,900. That's it's only 900 more than Eckler. I think I'd definitely rather have McCaffrey. Eckler's in a really tough matchup against the Choice run defense. Now, he could obviously get a lot of receiving yards out of the backfield and score touchdowns for sure. But McCaffrey, in correlation to that price, McCaffrey should probably be at least 9,500, maybe even closer to 10,000. So 89 seems very cheap for him.
He's only 9,200 on the main slate. So, which I just think is good value, even on both the Superflex and the main slate.
Yeah, I agree. All right. So you mentioned Pollard too. He's sort of one of the highest, the high-end price guys. Do you like him this week?
I like him a little bit, but this is the other coach who I think is a total buffoon. A couple of years ago, I had this unbelievable rant on McCaffrey Mike McCarthy when he was the coach of the Packers. And when I was reorganizing our YouTube page for the site, I accidentally deleted it, I think. And so
I know. I was looking for it. I wanted to clip it and link to it on Twitter.
So I apologize that it was my fault. I think I accidentally deleted it many moons ago. But anyway, Mike McCarthy, I thought he is in year 17 of being an NFL coach. He wasted Aaron Rodgers' career. He is now I watched the Eagles and the Cowboys game, and lots of Cowboys fans were complaining, "Oh, the refs, blah 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 blah." Go cry about it. Stay mad, whatever. But here's the thing. Here's the bottom line. Nick Sirianni and Jalen Hurts are in their third. They've played 2.5 years of football together. Okay, coach and quarterback combo. Dak is now in year 8, I think. Right, year 9,
2016. So. Yeah,
and McCarthy's in year 17 of coaching. Okay, they make mistakes like rookie head coach and rookie quarterback. When you watch Hurts and Sirianni versus Dak and McCarthy, it's like, oh, you would think Oh, you would think that McCarthy and Dak were the guys that have only played together for 2.5 years. You would think Sirianni is the guy who's been playing for 17 years. Like, it's just, they just, over and over and over again, McCarthy's teams are just not ready. In big moments, they don't know what to do. It's like they're looking at the sideline. It's not quite Rich Kotite-esque, but it's not too far off either. He clearly doesn't know what he's doing. And again, it's just what I don't understand how a guy like Mike McCarthy, who clearly doesn't know what he's doing, somehow can keep his job. It's remarkable to me. And as an Eagles fan, I love it. I hope they never fire him. I think it's awesome. So anyway, all that to say, I love Pollard as a player. I think Pollard's a great player, really. I think the Pollard problem right now is less Pollard and more McCarthy. There's no pre-snap motion. There's no creative ways to get the ball in the hand of Pollard, who's both a good inside runner and outside runner. And he's a good receiver out of the backfield. Like, it doesn't make sense. So I love Pollard. This would be a great matchup. But I'm so freaking nervous. Like, he would be in a normal scenario, this would be my number one play of the week. Mm-hmm. And I would be all over Pollard. 50-60% of my lineups would be Pollard. But I just can't get to him right now as much as I want to. So I'll probably I'm probably going to be around 15% of my lineups with him. But I really, really want to play him more because I think this could be his come out party. This could be, okay, finally, the Cowboys defense gets 2 turnovers and the Cowboys take over twice in Giants territory and they're able to punch in a couple easy touchdowns early in the game. Pollard has 3 touchdowns by halftime and the game's over. Kind of like I easily think that's the story that could unfold on Sunday. But I'm just hella afraid of putting any kind of stock into a Mark McCarthy led team.
Mike or Mark McCarthy led team,
right? Whatever their name is.
I don't blame you at all. It's very, very difficult. I am so sad. Like I said, I have so much Pollard ownership and Raymakers. I have so many. For 2022 cards, I think I have 11 elite Tony Pollard cards. I have elite 2023. I have several rares. This guy's just done nothing. Like, I don't think I have cash lineups with him in it, dating until obviously except for week 1. He had this decent week 6 game where he had 6 catches, but he's been a big disappointment. But it is the Giants, and we've seen this before. 14 carries, 17 yards. He had 2 touchdowns. He had 2 catches. So this is the matchup where he went off. So I think I could definitely play him, but I understand the trepidation. I don't have him in that one lineup I made so far. And like I said, I play 3 lineups. I don't know if he's going to make any of the 3. I like other running backs more. Although he is on my list. Like, I have 5 main running backs I like the most. And he and McCaffrey are the 2 highest salaried running backs on the list. So, but the other guys are in the 6K range, so they might make my list more often, obviously.
I got the one other guy that I like that's in this, that's not as expensive as those guys, but at 6,900 is Travis Etienne.
Okay.
Yeah, I like the matchup there. I think people think of the Niners as this phenomenal defense in every way, and they're great playmakers. But like, we've seen them give up points. We've seen them give up yards and particularly to opposing running backs. So I think I like Etienne a little bit, not a ton, but I think I like him quite a bit.
So I'll say this: like, the Niners are more pass funnel. They're especially weak against outside receivers, and they're really good against the run. But Etienne is such a big part of the passing game that he's kind of like Eckler. Like, Eckler has a tough matchup this week against Detroit, but he's obviously viable because he's such a dynamic receiver out of the backfield. And Etienne has turned into that player. Like, remember last year, like, he just wasn't catching passes for some reason. And this year he is. Now, like, look at the targets, like 3.53, 5.6. He's definitely up there. Like, he hasn't had a game where he's had fewer than 3 targets. He's very involved in the passing game. And so even if the Jaguars are behind, like, I feel like he's a game flow proof. Like, if they're ahead, they're going to run the ball with him. If they're behind, they're going to throw the ball to him out of the backfield. So at 6,900, I think he's a good value. He didn't make my list as like my favorite guys because it's the run defense matchup of it is the tougher part. But I definitely can understand why you're getting to him.
Yeah, I like him a lot. I mean, in the case of the difference between Etienne and Eckler, I mean, I like the. I mean, your comparison makes sense. The difference is that Eckler never runs inside at this point anymore. It's all pitch out, sweep out, bounce out, or receive it. Ton of targets out of the backfield. Where Etienne is still, he's doing both. They're giving him a lot of design running plays inside, which helps set up the play action pass. And so I think he's more game flow proof than Eckler is.
Yeah, it's $1,100 too. That's another difference as well.
Oh yeah,
so,
huge.
Yeah. So in mid tier range, who do you like here for the running backs?
Yeah, in the mid tier guys, I know people are going to try to maybe go to Rachaad White. I don't know what his percentage, his ownership percentage is.
It's fairly high. I want to get to it. Number 5.
Yeah, so I think I kind of like him a little bit against Tennessee, but I think that the risk there, the risk level is too high. I don't know that I want to go there. I think I'm going to pay up, and I think Joe Mixon's the guy to target quite a bit this week. I could see him, as the Bengals offense is getting better, their offensive line is playing much better. I think people are going to not be high. I don't know what his ownership percentage is going to be. I don't know what his projection is, but I could imagine it being low because of he's coming off a week where he only had 30 some yards. I would imagine this being the kind of week where people are maybe a little nervous about him, and I like the matchup.
Well, I have some bad news. He's number 4, which is bad news for me too because he made my lineup with Joe Burrow, Joe Mixon, and Jamar Chase. I like that stack because Joe Mixon is another one of these guys who's heavily involved in the passing game. In the past 4 games, 4, 3, and 6 targets. So I think he's also game flow proof because if they're behind, he's going to be on the field catching those short passes. But you assume that they're going to be ahead, which means he's going to get a lot of rushing opportunities.
Yeah. I guess I'm really surprised. I'm surprised that he's going to be that highly owned based on I guess I shouldn't be, right? He's a good player. The offense is getting better. They got a good matchup. I guess I shouldn't be, and he's decent price. I guess I shouldn't be surprised.
Yes. It's a great matchup for sure. Houston's so bad against the run. Anyone else in this mid tier? Because there's one guy we haven't touched on yet. I want to get to him too.
Not mid tier, no.
Okay, so this guy, Aaron Jones at 6,300. I heard this.
Is he going to play?
Is he going to play? He was hamstring limited on Wednesday, but okay. I'm really kicking myself. Last week, after the Saturday show, I was like listening to Stochastics YouTube channel, and they had some guy on there, and he read a quote from Matt LaFleur. And Matt LaFleur said, "Oh, we're finally gonna finally unleash Aaron Jones," or he said something of that nature. I'm like, oh man, like I should get him into my lineups. I just kind of forgot because I had to wake up early for the Sunday game. So I really wanted to get Jones in my lineup and just kind of slipped my mind. So Jones he just hasn't been doing a lot like in these games, like 9 carries, 5, 8, 7. And then he had this 20 piece right here. And that's not a fluke because he was injured. He got hurt week 1. And then he tried to come back against Detroit. He barely played. Then he tried to come back against Denver. He and Dylan were sharing carries because he was not 100%, but he was finally 100% in this game against the Rams. And he just went off. And Pittsburgh's run defense has been really bad this year. I think Aaron Jones is in a great spot. Assuming this hamstring thing he's dealing with, I don't know. It might just be lingering from before, and they just want to not push it. Assuming he doesn't keep missing practices, I'm pretty high on Aaron Jones this week.
I thought about him, but my only concern was the injury. I saw the injury earlier today, the practice designation. I wondered. I've not gone back and watched him this past week, so I don't know what he looked like. The stats look good, but does what he actually played look like? Does it look like what the stats show? Is the question I had.
I thought he looked like his former self. So
Right.
I thought it was telling that the coaches wanted to get him more involved. Any other running backs you like?
Not in the mid range. No,
Well,
there's a few cheapo guys I may look to here.
let's get to the cheapo guys.
We love the cheapo guys. They're our favorite.
All right, who do you like here?
So you mentioned. Let me go back. Sorry. One other guy that I think I may get to we didn't mention is Jahmyr Gibbs. I think I may own him a little bit. Him and David Montgomery. I don't know who's going to get the bulk of the carries. I don't know what the situation is going to be. It's hard to imagine that David Montgomery, based on the season he's had, is not going to be continue to get significant carries. But it's also hard to imagine that the coaching staff is going to see what Gibbs has done and then just completely ignore. Okay, like he's been great while Montgomery's been out, and let's just not give him the ball. Like, I guess it's possible. We just talked about how stupid coaches are. I guess it's possible. But
I like that. I like Dan Campbell though.
Yeah, so maybe he's smarter than most. I don't know. We'll see. So it's hard to know who to bank on, Montgomery or Gibbs. So you can't put a ton of them, but I think I'm gonna get a little more Gibbs than Montgomery, just because I just like Gibbs. I think he's a better player. David Montgomery's kind of been a favorite whipping boy of mine for quite some time, and so I think I'm gonna get a little bit of Gibbs in my lineup.
Okay. Well, what about the cheaper guys? Is Najee Harris one of them? Because I wanted to ask you about him. Not that I like him, but he's number 7 in projected ownership this week.
Yeah, I see. I went back and forth on Najee Harris and Jalen Warren, what to do with these guys. I want to get both of them in my lineups, and so I've currently got them each in. I have them each in 6 lineups each. Mm-hmm. So out of 200, it's not a lot. But I'm not sure what to do with these guys. I'm not sure what to do with the Steelers backfield.
My take on this is I think they just lack the upside. They both vulture each other. I think they're going to score 10 to 15 fantasy points, which is okay for a 5K running back. But if you think about it, if you have a 5K receiver, they could score 30 points. We've seen that with Adam Thielen this year. We saw that with Tank Dell a bunch of times. We saw that with Noah Brown. He was 3K last week. If you go cheap, I think you should go receiver because they have such higher upside than these cheaper running backs. I don't know of any running back this week who's capable of any running back, I should say, below 5K who's capable of 30 fantasy points. I can't find any of them. I don't think you're going to see that. Maybe if this Keaton Mitchell guy goes off again, but I just really don't see it. So I didn't get to any of the cheaper running backs. I got to a lot of, and theoretically, I'm only playing one lineup so far, but if I were playing 150, I imagine I'd be getting to a lot of Aaron Jones, Joe Mixon, Bijan Robinson, Tony Pollard, a lot of those guys.
Yeah. Etienne McCaffrey, Joe Mixon, Pollard, Bijan Robinson, Aaron Jones, I can imagine being, and then for me, I'll have some Gibbs in there. That's what I was saying earlier. Earlier we were talking about quarterbacks. This week I want to spend more on running back generally that's why I'm going to kind of spend down a little bit on quarterback and receiver. There is one cheapo guy that I actually like quite a bit, and that is Zach Charbonnet. Charbonnet. How do you pronounce his name? Is Charbonnet? Is that how you pronounce his name?
Yeah, it's Charbonnet. Yeah.
Okay, Charbonnet. Okay, went back and watched. This is another backfield. It's hard to know. I love Kenneth Walker. I think he's a great player. I know you were a fan of his in the offseason coming into the season. But it looks like the Seattle coaching staff, which seems to generally be a trustworthy coaching staff, unless you're at the 1 yard line in the Super Bowl and you don't want to hand it to Marshawn Lynch. I generally trust the Seattle Seahawks coaching staff. And they featured this guy. They tried to feature him quite a bit in some key situations. It seemed like, and so I wonder if this is going to increase. I wonder if his playing time is going to increase and his attempts are going to increase in the coming weeks.
Well, they spent a 2nd round pick on him, so you could be onto something.
And so I like he looks really good. It's hard for me to imagine that he plays as well. They're giving him a little more extra attention in some key situations. He plays well, and then they just go away from him. Although that's what they kind of did this past week. But I would imagine maybe they try to get him. So I think I'm going to get to him a little bit.
Okay. It's interesting. One guy I want to ask you about, because he's also projected to be highly owned, is Alexander Madison. And I think that this is because Cam Akers tore his Achilles, I think, or was it ACL or Achilles? I can't remember. But like Madison is now the clear-cut running back there. There was some concern that Akers is going to take away touches from him. But this is a tough matchup because the Saints, really good Saints run defense. So what do you think about Madison?
I've not been a Madison fan. I think you and I disagreed with him back in the summer. It was very clear Akers was their lead running back by a little bit. It was like 55-45 split. It was close. I don't think Madison's a great player. You know who else I think doesn't think he's a great player? The Vikings coaching staff. I don't think they think he's a great player. Because they're clearly trying to give Cam Akers. They did not trust Alexander Madison. And so Madison's he's fine. He's fine. He's not a terrible player. But I would imagine maybe maybe they finally get Tyson Chandler, who you're pulling him right now. Like, I wonder if this is an opportunity for Chandler to finally by the way, I have a Tyson Chandler elite card.
So do I. Touche.
Which has pretty much been useless.
Yep.
I think maybe I'll play that this week.
Did you buy it or did you get it in a pack?
I got it in a pack in the preseason.
Wow. So I bought one before the Akers trade, just because I like to insure my running backs. So like if I have an elite or higher running back, I'll buy his backup just in case of an injury. And so I had Madison elite that I got in a pack. And so like, I might as well buy Chandler, super cheap. So I bought it, and yeah, it's just been sitting there doing nothing but collecting dust. Not even collecting dust because it's online. But like now there's a chance that he might do something. So a little happy about that, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if he's a good player or not. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
Madison's fine. Maybe I was too harsh on Madison. He's fine.
I don't think he's a good player. I like them in the summer because of the situation. I like, Minnesota has such an explosive offense, and like he's the only running back with experience there. Like they had Chandler, and that's before the Akers trade. And I thought Madison would just be in a great spot to just like go off in fantasy some weeks. And he just really hasn't done that. Like he's been okay, just because he gets bailed out by like random touchdowns. Like he's like the opposite of Tony Pollard. Like he's scored like random times to really help himself, but like just the like 11 for 34, 8 for 28, 8 for 26, 18 for 44, 16 for 31, 16 for 44. Like, man, this is and like some of these matchups haven't been that bad either. Like, well, this Atlanta matchup, this Green Bay matchup was like should have been favorable, and he just did nothing. So, just been very disappointing.
Yeah, the argument that goes he's the only running back there in a good offense. I generally am nervous about that argument because I generally feel like they'll find someone else. Like, remember Alex Collins once upon a time was a second round pick, and I was telling people I think he's like a 10th round pick. James Conner once upon a time was a first round pick, and I was like, I think he's like a 6th round pick. And I just think generally, if you're good, yeah, you'll stick. But if you're not good, I just think eventually they'll find someone else. They'll phase you out. I mean, Miles Sanders is now the 3rd running back in Carolina. They paid him a ton of money. For 2 weeks in a row, he was clearly the 3rd running back for the Panthers. And maybe he'll bounce back. But, I just generally the idea that that he's the only guy there, or they paid him a lot of money, or they drafted him high. I generally think those are not good arguments.
I think you're on point with that. I think that's something I should look into implementing more into my rankings going forward. Do you want to go to tight ends?
Yes.
All right. Who are the 3 highest owned tight ends this week?
3 highest owned tight ends this week would be. I'm gonna. It's the guy I like, but it's got to be Trey McBride again, right?
Number 1.
He's got to be. I mean, he's just the obvious choice. And in my early crunches, I have him in 66% of my lineups.
Wow.
So, which is really a bad. I'm gonna go back and adjust that. There's no way I can go into the league, go into the weekend. But based on my projections and the rules I set up in the cruncher, that's what comes. It doesn't surprise me that he's number 1. He's the obvious choice, which makes me wonder if we should find a better choice. Get away from him.
Yeah, I mean, chalky tight ends. Just generally want to get away from them. Any thoughts on the other two of the top three?
Who are the other guys? I'm trying to think. I wonder if Gerald Everett gets a little bit of play because of the matchup and the high scoring affair. Maybe he gets some play.
No, he's not in the top 10. He broke my heart. I had two player props for that Monday night game. I had Garrett Wilson over receiving yards, which hit, and then I had Gerald Everett over 26.5 receiving yards, and he had 2 for 18 like right away. And I was like, oh man, this is gonna hit, and then he didn't catch a single pass after.
Am I looking at this right? I must have missed this. Is TJ Hawkinson really only 5,200?
And he's number 2.
He's the 5th most expensive tight end. Am I missing something?
I think that's because of the quarterback situation.
I mean, Dobbs was competent though last week.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, with Dobbs, he had 12 targets.
Yeah, you're not going to argue with me. Like, I think he's a great play this week.
You said what's his rank percentage wise? Projections
for ownership, number 2.
I think I'm still willing to ride with him. I think that's good chalk where McBride probably feels like bad chalk.
I agree. Number 3, any quick guess?
Sam Laporta, in that lineup, in that matchup with Chargers.
He's number 8, which feels low.
That feels very low, actually. Oh.
I agree.
I guess my other guess might be Cade Otton, maybe.
He's number 9.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
All right. I clearly suck at this guessing ownership stuff.
Well, you got McBride right away, so that's pretty good.
Yeah, that just feels like a stupid obvious one because of the price point, right? But who's number 3 then?
Mr. Evan Ingram.
Okay, I guess I can see that. Yeah, I don't think I want Evan Ingram in many lineups of mine.
He is cheap too. Like 4,700 feels cheap too. He's been 5K this year. I don't really like him this week. The Niners are really good against tight ends, so and plus he doesn't really get touchdowns. He hasn't scored a touchdown this year.
Wow.
So yeah, don't like that very much. So who do you like at tight end? I mean, you said you got a lot of McBride. If you want to move away from McBride and also Hawkinson, who do you like?
Moving away from McBride, I think Cade Otton would be a potential consideration because he's in the same price point. So maybe trying to intentionally go away from that. Maybe Juwan Johnson, who just scored his first touchdown of the year. And I think a lot of people are going to be looking at Taysom Hill, although Taysom Hill is not a tight end. I don't think he played a single snap at tight end last week, but he's a tight end. So I don't understand why Taysom Hill was a tight end.
It's the 4th most expensive tight end.
He literally, I don't think he played a single snap at tight end last week. He lined up at fullback a few times. He lined up as a wildcat quarterback. He lined up as a wide receiver, wide.
He should be a running back on the slate.
And they line up in the pistol formation, kind of that old like Oklahoma Mustang pistol formation. They use him out of that. I don't know why he's a tight end. I would imagine though people are looking at him and maybe Juwan Johnson kind of gets forgotten about. And so I wonder if you're looking for a cheap guy to kind of pivot toward, Juwan Johnson's the guy I might consider a little bit. And I like Logan Thomas a little bit as well. I think Logan Thomas, I could see if I'm gonna play a lot of DK Metcalf with Geno Smith, which I will. I'm gonna be running it back mostly with Curtis Samuel. But maybe a few lineups with Logan Thomas is a good fit as well.
Okay. I could definitely see that. So some tight ends I like this week. There's 4 guys. McBride was on the list. Maybe with that ownership might be off. So my thinking here is that like a lot of cheap tight ends went off last week. We had Cade Otton. We had who else do we have? We had Cole Kmet. We had Jake Ferguson. A lot of these cheap tight ends went off. So I think the move might be to go expensive at tight end this week. And if you do that, obviously Hawkinson is an obvious choice.
He's the best
Another,
choice, yeah.
I think another choice that, and he's super low owned. He's not even the top 10. George Kittle. George Kittle is going to run more routes this week because Trent Williams is coming back, presumably. Like George Kittle with Trent Williams off the field doesn't do as much because he has to block more. But now that Trent Williams is back, like Kittle is going to be unleashed a little bit. And Jacksonville has been pretty bad against tight ends this year. It's a good matchup. I think that just with the Hawkinson ownership and the McBride ownership, no one's going to play this guy. And we've seen his potential, 26 and 27. Like how many of these tight ends can do that? Like you can't, you just
Very
don't
few.
see that. And 6,200 feels like a reasonable price for a Kittle. Like obviously he's been cheaper this year, but 6,200 doesn't seem like that bad. So I like Kittle because like no one's gonna be on him, and I think that like I said, I'd rather pay off for tight end this week.
I think you're probably right. And the more you talked about it, I think paying up is probably the ideal strategy this week. You're right.
Yeah, you also have Sam Laporta. You have to mention him. He's been a stud like right away. Dalton Kincaid's coming on too, but this guy has had 22, 19, and 19. Three performances since week 3 of 19 or more fantasy points. And a great matchup against the Chargers against tight ends. We just saw Tyler Conklin have a good performance on Monday Night Football. So you have to go to him and then Dalton Schultz. If you're playing the Cincinnati stack, you can run it back with Schultz. We just saw Dalton Kincaid light up Cincinnati's defense. That's like the one weakness of Cincinnati's defense is like the middle of the field, and Schultz should be able to take advantage of that. I don't like his price. He's 5,100, but that could just ward off ownership and just like because it's kind of like sticker shock because he's been 3K or 4K all year. Now he's 5,100. People are like, oh man, I don't want to pay that much for Schultz. But
that's
I still
how
think,
I feel.
right. I mean, that's definitely reasonable, but like he's been great lately. 13, 19, 16. He had the stud here, 2.5, and then 31. I think he's worthy of being 5,100, especially in this matchup. So in that lineup that I have Joe Burrow, Schultz is my run back at tight end.
I think that's a good. I'm knocking stuff over here. I think it's a good play. It makes sense. By the way, I have one of my topics I want to cover on the website at some point in the next couple of months here is I want to do kind of a deep dive into research on rookie tight ends because they generally don't produce, but occasionally they do. And I'm curious if there's any correlation between the rookie tight ends that have popped over the last decade. So coming sometime soon.
We've had some good ones this year. I mean, Laporta, obviously, Kincaid has a slow start, but he's been great the past couple of weeks. And then we had Musgrave. I mentioned him on the show last week. Luke Musgrave is another one of those cheap tight ends who did well. He had 14 fantasy points. He was the tight end in one of my lineups. So I don't like him as much this week. Steelers have been really good against tight ends, but I mean, if you're talking about rookie tight ends, like you have to include him too. So so anyone else you want to mention or before we build the lineup and then open up packs?
No, that's it.
All right, so let's build this lineup. I don't know if you wanted to do something different. Maybe we'll build 2 lineups, but I wanted to build that Taylor Heineke stack that we talked about.
Yeah, let's do it.
So we have Heineke. I want to. So this is my stack. You can stack however you want with Murray, but like I want Bijan and I want London. So let's get to Murray. Who do you want to stack Murray with?
Probably. I guess Brown is probably the best option.
And Marquise Brown. Anyone else? Do you want to go James Conner or?
Yeah, I mean McBride would be the other option, but he's No
McBride.
Yeah, I'm okay.
What about Rondale?
Oh, you know what? Rondale Moore, actually, our boy.
Yes, Rondale Moore. All right. So we have 9,100 per player.
Why he's my boy. I don't know where that came from.
Do we have 9,100 per player left?
Let's go.
I don't think we need Rondale Moore, but obviously we have running back. We can put McCaffrey in there, and now we have 9,400 for tight ends.
I mean, yeah,
is Travis Kelce on the slate? Like, no, this is not. Let's take out Rondale Moore. So now we have 6,200 per player. Tight end. Did you want to? You said you wanted to spend up a tight end. Do you want to go Kittle, Laporta, or Hawkinson?
Yeah, I mean, Hawkins is the guy I like the most, to be honest.
Okay.
But I could see, I think you can make an argument for Kittle or Laporta as well.
All right. So if we do Hawkinson, we have 7,200 for our flex. So we get Mark Andrews, Derrick Henry, Mike Evans, Brandon Ayuk. I like Evans and Ayuk. Pollard. This is an ATN. So who would you like in the final spot?
I mean, I think ATN is probably my favorite of that mix.
I'm going to tell you why I like that, because we also have McCaffrey, so it's
Yeah.
kind of a mini stack right there.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, that's probably the best. I like that lineup a lot.
Yeah, I do too. If you're watching, make sure you pivot because you don't want to be duped. So change ATN or you could change McCaffrey or change Hawkinson. I think that's the easiest way to do. Do you want to build another lineup or
Yeah.
you want to? Okay, all right.
Let's
So
see
what are we doing with what stack do you want to go?
my favorite stack probably the week is Goff and St. Brown.
Okay, Goff, St. Brown.
Mm-hmm.
And this is anyone else in the stack like Laporta?
I think Laporta at tight end is a good. I mean, he's been a consistent player.
Okay, so we have an expensive receiver and expensive tight end with kind of like mid-tier quarterback. So I think we need a cheaper stack to go with this one. Let's go with unless you have any objections to this, or who'd you like cheap? What do you think about Will Levis?
We talk about Will Levis with Phillips.
Yeah, Kyle Phillips. Yep. Okay, and now we have 6,500 per player. We need 2 running backs, obviously.
What about a correlation on the Chargers? Would you consider that?
Yeah, for sure. We could go Eckler or Keenan Allen. I think. Go ahead.
From a strategic standpoint, if this is a high scoring game, who do you like more to score in that game?
I think Keenan Allen's matchup is not bad. I don't think the Lions are very good against slot receivers. They're not terrible or anything, but it's a definitely an easier matchup for Keenan Allen than it is for Eckler. However, if we use Keenan Allen, then we're locked into 2 running backs with not much money left. So sure. I think we need to go Eckler and then have a cheap receiver, and we like some of these cheap receivers, and then we could spend up a running back, maybe get ATN in there again. So for a cheaper receiver, I don't know if you had anyone in mind, but we had we liked a bunch of the 3K guys.
Yeah.
We can get Rondale Moore in there, see what we get at running back, or Curtis. What about Curtis Samuel
or Powell or Samuel?
Let's try Samuel first. See what we get. We have 7,700 left. There's Saquon Barkley, Pollard. So if we go ATN. We can change our flex. Now we have 4,700 left for a flex, which is Tyler Boyd. No, it's 4,600. There's Michael Thomas, Rashid Shaheed.
If you're in a big slate, Shaheed is a guy that you could probably consider if you're in a big GPP tournament.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. Let's go Shaheed, and then we can upgrade something else for 400 more. Which was if you don't like ATN, you have 7,300. You could go to Pollard, for example. But right. I think it's okay to leave $400 on the table. So, do you like this lineup better than the other one?
I think I like the other one more, probably. Actually, now I think about it.
Yeah, I do too. Actually, I'm not a big fan of Eckler this week. I get the running back, and I think I would do that too. Just try to correlate as much as possible, unless you're in a contest with a couple thousand entries. But if you're in that big contest with 100,000 people, you should correlate. Eckler is definitely a viable way to go. I just don't like him as a play that much. I think that's why this lineup looks weaker than the other one.
It makes me not as excited about the Goff St. Brown stack as well. Then after you see it, it's interesting. I love this is a great exercise too for people just to mess around with lineups and just see various combinations and go, okay, do I like this?
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I mean it's a lot of fun to do, and it's You learn a lot just from trying to build it this way for sure. And if you do want this lineup, make sure you have St. Brown in the flex because he plays in the 4:00 game. All right, so you want to get to packs?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, you want to open up? We have Cassandra Future saying Rondo Moore now guaranteed to blow up. Yeah,
100%.
Yeah, he's gonna. I don't know. Hopefully he has a good game. So do you want to open up your packs first, or do you want me to open up mine first?
I got them, pulling them up right now.
Okay.
Let's share screen. All right. You see my screen yet? No.
Let me get to it. There we go.
There's packs. Boom. I got 4 packs. I was telling you before we started recording, I won 26 different packs. So this one I bought, and then these I won, these rare. So I opened all the core ones. They were all mostly crap. I got a few. I got a Tyreek Hill core card in there. I think I got a Jamar Chase core. I think I got a Chuba Hubbard. So those are okay.
I have a sad story. I won a legendary pack in one of the contests this week. And I was waiting on it because there's this website where you can see who's available left, and like a lot of the good players are open, but there's Joe Burrow, Tony Pollard, and like a couple other guys left, but there are a lot of crappy guys, and so I was like hoping that like people would open those packs, those crappy guys, like but like people weren't opening those packs for some reason. And I was like, it was like late Tuesday night. And I was like, all right, I'm just going to open it because I'm just wasting my time here. Plus I want to construct my lineups. And so I opened my legendary pack, and of course it's Greg Dortch. And no joke, 5 minutes later, someone opens a pack and he gets, who did he get? He got, Tony Pollard. So just difference of $2,000. So.
Excellent. You gotta love it. Well, here's a rare card here.
All right.
By the way, do you get sound effects for that when I'm playing that?
I can hear it, yeah.
Okay.
Wandale
Robinson rare card. All right. Sadness in my lineups. That's great.
This would have been more exciting a week ago when Daniel Jones was in there.
Or Danny DeVito's grandson.
His grandson. I think it's like third cousin twice removed. There you go. That's not
Alexander Madison rare card. All right, that's not terrible, right?
It's pretty good.
I mean, I dogged on him pretty good earlier, but whatever.
I mean, he's been producing. He's not bad. All right, let's go. Who do you want? Chris McCaffrey?
McCaffrey would be great. Or let me see. Who do I? No, I need a great tight end. I need a Travis Kelce or Hawkinson. Have you ever hoped for a tight end? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean Kelce's great. Oh, there
Kyle
you go.
Phillips.
Well, I like Kyle Phillips this week.
I'll play him this week. And then here's a prime booster pack. I actually bought this. So what I've been doing, if anyone's playing on Rainmakers, I've been basically making offers on all different cards and packs and just making really low offers. So these packs were selling for like $25 to $24. And then all of a sudden I got an email. I just kept making the offers, I got an email saying that your offer was accepted. I bought this for $12. I couldn't believe it.
Wow. Nice.
And right now they're all going for like $16, $17. So I could sell this right now and make $4 or $5, but I am not a man of the money. No, Walter. I am a man of the people. And so I'm going to forgo the potential $5 profit so that I can open this right here, right now in front of the people.
I think you're going to be rewarded. It was the Sunday night slate. So let's hope for Breece Hall and Garrett Wilson and Devontae Adams, Josh Jacobs. Those are your 4 cards, guaranteed.
All right, they're all core. That's terrible, right?
Well, not if they're all good. Khalil. Sunday. Okay. This is last Sunday, so we're hoping for Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase and Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs. Okay, Bengals defense. Okay,
not good so far.
James Cook,
James Cook, who's being thoroughly faded out of the offense at this point. It's exciting.
Yeah. Yep. Josh Allen, let's go. Tyler Boyd. Okay. Well, you're you have not been rewarded karma wise, but I think one day you will be.
So the Tyler Boyd might sell for 60 cents. James Cook for under $1. Maybe the defense might be the most expensive card of this year. So I turned $12 into about $1.20. Very exciting.
Yeah, but you have this personal experience that you'll never forget. So you
More
can't put
more importantly, the people watching have the experience.
you can't right. You can't put a price on stuff like that. It's like it's vacation, right? Like you're paying for your experience. Like you get nothing out of it. You can't sell your vacation. All right, so let me open up my pack. My pack is a if I can find the window. Where is it? There we go. My pack is a trade-in pack, which I did last week. So basically, you could trade in a bunch of your old crappy cards that you don't use anymore. In this case, it was like 3 Kenyon Drakes. I forget. Oh, Alan Lazard. Like these guys, I was not using at all in any lineup. So this is basically free, except for the BS token you have to buy to trade this in. Whatever. So the token costs money. The other cards didn't because they were worthless. And you could see who's available. So the Stream NFT site that I referenced earlier, you can see who's here. So the most likely guys I'm going to get, there are 5 of them left: Jeff Wilson Jr. and Jonathan Taylor. Obviously, Taylor would be a lot better. He's going for $265, whereas Jeff Wilson Jr. is going for $30. But you could obviously get like one of these other guys. Like there's 4 left of Lawrence Olave, Derek Carr, Baker Mayfield, et cetera, et cetera. And you could go on all the way to the bottom. Like, there's a chance I can get a Dallas defense, Micah Parsons. There's 1 left. So it's anyone's guess as to which player I'll get. Last week, I opened up 2 of these. I got Kirk Cousins, and I was excited for 1 second. And I was like, wait, he's out for the year. And then I was like, what I say, I was like, I looked at the rest of the players and like Marvin Mims is at the top, and like the rest of them are good. I'm like, all right, anyone but Marvin Mims. And of course it was Marvin Mims. So I'm hoping that I have better luck than you do with that last pack. And I hope that I can open up something good and not Marvin Mims. So
not Marvin. By the way, we can't see your are we
you can't see it? Hold on.
What are we looking? We're looking at the main slate still.
You really can't see it. Alex asking, Kenny, are you going to invest into the Thanksgiving Millie Maker on the Rainmaker slate?
On the core and rare slate, because I'm a cheapo skate.
Well, no, that is what it is.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Oh, okay. I see why this is not working. Hold on. Let me stop screen. Present share screen. I think I had the tab open. Okay, you can see that now, right?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, the Thanksgiving slate is basically like last year they had like flannel and sweater versions of cards that you could buy, and like the core cards were even super expensive. Like a Stephon Diggs core flannel, I think, was like going for like $1,500. Because you could enter it into the $1 million to first Rainmaker slate on Thanksgiving. So they're going to be selling these Thanksgiving and Christmas packs again, which are like, if you don't win, they're kind of a scam because like you can't really use them for much after. Yeah, Alex saying I thought packs were 130 each. I think they're like $130. They come with two cards you can use on Thanksgiving. The third card is a card you can use either a card you can use at Christmas or an Elite Plus card. So you can get Elite card or maybe Legendary or a Rainmaker. And then there are 2 other cards in the pack. I forget what they are. But that's basically what they are. I don't know if I'm going to buy any packs. I think I might play one lineup and then just buy the cards I need. I think usually like the packs are a waste of money despite us opening the packs on stream. You shouldn't open up packs. Just do it for fun. And like, obviously if you win packs in the contest, you open them. But I would recommend against opening packs and like just trying to find like good, cheap guys you could make like with one lineup on Thanksgiving or something like that. Just don't go nuts with these slates.
Yeah, that's what it was. I actually think that one of the strategies I intend to use next year, if possible, is to just buy a bunch of packs early in the season or in the off season and don't open them and just put them for sale for a really high number because people overpay for them throughout the course of the season.
Yeah, that's a great strategy for sure. Something to really build your portfolio on, which is really good, is to buy cards from the old season during the summer. So, for example, I bought a bunch of like Mahomes and Kelsey's and Pollards from 2022 this past off season because you can use them in pack parties this year, and like the pack parties for the 2022 cards are really good. Like you could really build a collection for 2023 and obviously 2023 for 2024 with these pack parties. And like you like during the spring and summer, especially in the spring, you could find great deals on these old players just because like people want to offload them because like you can't use them for a while. So just look for good bargains and then just try to build your collection that way. That's my recommendation. Anyway, this is the screen I referenced earlier. So Jeff Wilson Jr. and Jonathan Taylor are the two most likely players are going to open, but you never know. All right, let's open this pack, and then
all right,
get out of here.
Jonathan Taylor, let's go.
That would be great. I guarantee it's going to be Jeff Wilson Jr. Okay, let's do it. Denzel Ward. Okay. Browns defense. I'd be happier about this, except for I got a Browns elite defense in a pack I opened from one of the contests too. So now I have two of them. So which Browns defense, you can't go wrong there. So I turned my crappy Kenyon Drakes and Alan Lazard into Browns defense, which I'll say this, like you need defense and kickers for the past season. So like this card will be going up in value, which is it's like pretty uncommon compared to the other positions. Like defensive kickers, they actually got more expensive as like from last season because you need them in the deep roster. So for the old cards for 2022, you can only play them in deep roster contests, which is you need a quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 receivers, tight end, defense, kicker, and flex. So you need the defensive kicker. And a lot of people burn them just trying to get new cards, and like people just caught with their pants down. And kickers like skyrocketed in price. Like they're insane. The 2022 kickers are more expensive than the 2023 kickers at their respective tiers, which is crazy, isn't it?
That is crazy.
Yeah. All right. So Browns defense, going to add that to my collection. Not super exciting, but it could be worse. It could have been Denzel Mims again, or Marvin Mims, or Denzel, whatever. Either one was still terrible.
All right. Well, while we were talking, I decided to buy one more pack just for funsies because we just told the people not to buy packs and open them. So I decided to do.
We're making the mistakes for the people. So
that's
yeah,
right. I'm paying your dumb tax. So, so here we go. Just a booster pack, just $14.99 because whatever. I got a 50% chance of getting a rare card, and no sound. Okay, I see how it is. DraftKings.
Well, it'll be good now, man. That's the good packs have the no sound. So you got a rare. There you go.
Okay, you got a rare. You got to see. There's a sound effect. Okay, Eli Mitchell.
Well, if McCaffrey gets hurt, there you go. There's your insurance.
All right, Marquise Brown. Okay.
Better with Murray coming back. All right, rare. Let's go with the tight end you wanted. Let's go with George
Hawkinson. Kittle. How about AJ Brown? I need AJ Brown in my life.
All right, let's do it.
Let's go AJ Brown.
Okay, well, we both got defenses. I mean, if you're gonna get a defense, it might as well be Dallas defense, right?
Yeah, I guess so. Let me see. What do those cards sell for? What did I just turn $15 into? I turned $15 into $3.
Not bad. No, wait. What are you talking about? $3.
I mean, top offer is $2. I might,
Yeah, but it's the min price is $9. If someone wants it, they're going to pay $9.
All right. Well, that's what I did. So you're welcome.
All right. So real quick, do you want to plug your site before we head out?
Thecapisfake.com. I mentioned I don't have any new articles this week, but working on some stuff. So Alex McCullough says he can't be worse than packing one with Fairmouth and Cam Akers.
Well, I think Alex, you missed my story about how I had a legendary pack that I won in a contest, and I opened a Greg Dortch, and no joke, 5 minutes later, someone opened up a Tony Pollard, and it is sequential. Like if someone opened that pack before me, they would have gotten the Dortch, and I would have gotten the Pollard. So pretty tough. It was a rough night. I was very upset.
Yeah, that sucks, dude. The cap is fake. I don't have any new content, but I did write an article last week on rookie running backs and kind of look back at the last decade. And I got a bunch of content on there on salary cap, some fantasy stuff, some general NFL stuff. So hope that's enjoyable to the people.
General NFL stuff, sir. I am at WalterFootball.com. We're going to have a show tomorrow, Thursday Thought Show. Quacky Takes is going to be on again. So very exciting to hear what he's going to be up to this week in Quacky's Corner, because he likes to recommend like off, like off the beat, like big prop plays and stuff like that. So he's going to give us another big play tomorrow. So I'm excited to hear what he has. And then we have a special guest on Saturday. For our Saturday thoughts, our Saturday notes. Usually I do that solo, but we're going to have a guest on. Going to be a lot of fun. So check back then. And then just follow WalterFootball.com for the latest. And please hit like, subscribe, comment below, share this video. Visit the link in the description for the Verner store. Kenny, it was great to do this with you once again. Hopefully one of us either wins a milli or wins something very cool in Rainmakers, and hopefully not a Greg Dortch.
No.
Why is Greg Dortch even in the prize pool? Like,
I want an AJ Brown elite card next week. That's what I want.
Nice. There you go. I think you've spoken to assistants like I did with Marvin Mims. You're gonna get it. So, all right, Kenny. Good luck this week, and everyone else, good luck as well. And I'll talk to you later.
You the man, Walt.
All right, see you. Bye.